And let's take a look. So Kenji appears to be on. Well, we're looking at his hand first. Ooh, is this Eldrazi post against Grixis control? Uh-oh. Well, the big boys are out and about. My bad. I think I actually accidentally muted you. Can you just say something real quick and see if it's showing up?
Test, 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 test.
Okay, well, yeah, I can hear you.
Okay.
We'll wait to hear anything. Yeah, the technological part of this as like a one-man show, like just looking at everything and doing commentary is so hard. Okay, yeah, so the chat is saying that you're here right now. Let's dive into this match with some pre-game commentary. Phil, talk to me about this matchup. First of all, who do you think is going to win?
I'm voting for the Eldrazi here.
All right, in fact, let's dive a little bit deeper and then tell me, what is this Eldrazi deck exactly doing?
So you can see the main deck Ulamog, the Ceaseless Hunger here, as well as like Chalice of the Void and Thorn of Amethyst. So this Eldrazi post deck is looking to be annoying and disruptive in the first few turns of the game to make the opposing decks stumble. So cards like Chalice and Thorn are going to really like mitigate the power of cantrips.
Okay.
And then this lets you buy time to an end game that just absolutely goes over the top of most of the rest of the format.
Right. So here we see, just starting off, looks like the Eldrazi player won the dice roll, led off with an Eldrazi temple, only in Legacy, whereas Kenji, back on the feature match, leads off with a Bloodstained Mire.
Yeah, and now we'll see the choice of either the Chalice of the Void or the Thorn of Amethyst here. It's kind of a wash, but I would lead on Thorn. It's very similar to just like playing a Thalia out on turn 2,
Okay.
where if you just like set your opponent back, this stops them from just curving out with things like Hymn to Turok.
Okay.
And so this is warranting a Force of Will.
Right, and that's really interesting play too, to lead with the Thorn instead of the Chalice. I guess maybe the fact that well, here we see it again. I guess there's an Urborg in play, and
yes, having double fetch land.
Yeah, that is actually just a great sight. The double fetch land tapped. I mean, Kenji did this in the last round too, so he knows that he can maximize value, squeak out that fetch ability. It's interesting that Teruya led with the Thorn of the Amethyst. Maybe the fact that Kenji didn't play a spell on turn 1 was a pretty big giveaway to maybe go with the Thorn instead.
Well, so think of the upside of it resolving.
Mm-hmm.
If the Thorn resolves, then on Kenji's turn 2, he can't Hymn. On his turn 3, he can't Culligan's command. So you pushed back the entire game. That gives you time to resolve your Chalice of the Void, and it will still be extremely powerful.
Okay, makes sense. All right, so now...
So we have an uncounterable Endless 1 for 5 here, which is going to be met by the Edict that was in his hand in short order.
That's pretty good. That's pretty good. I guess, like, basically right now, from my perspective, if I'm in Kenji's shoes, I just want to be able to slow the aggression down with relevant answers. But here, this is pretty brutal. Kenji does not have a third land, and we're already going into, like, what is it now, the 5th turn of the game?
Yeah, and so 2 of those lands are effectively soul lands producing 2 manas. So now, like, the clock is ticking, right? Just moving towards Ulamog, the Ceaseless Hunger, hitting play and destroying 2 lands.
Mm-hmm.
Although, sort of humorously, with those fetch lands staying in play, if they both were to stay there, they couldn't really be targeted by that ability.
Yeah, that's true.
But it looks like he needs some other colored mana.
Random upside for not cracking the fetches to use the Hymn to Torok. Now, this is really interesting. Look at Teruya's mana base. He's actually got 1 copy of the basic Wastes. And we saw Blood Moon out of Kenji's sideboard in the last game. So this is a little bit of resiliency to that angle of attack.
Yeah, I've been seeing more wastes in the main board or potentially sideboard of these decks recently. It helps randomly against things like Blood Moon. Less so back to basics here because you require so much mana. But it also gives you additional sort of utility when your opponent uses like Path to Exile and Assassin's Trophy on your permanents.
Yeah, this is pretty crazy. If you look at the board state right now, Kenji just used his Kolaghan's command to kill the Chalice of the Void and discard the Ulamog that was sitting in Teruya's hand. So now the Eldrazi player is actually just kind of like at the mercy of the top of his deck, which is an insanely good position for Kenji to be in. Chalice on 1 is a pretty good top deck, but we want to see some actual pressure in the form of creatures. Kenji is going to force a will this Chalice, which Makes sense if you think about it. The Cavern of Souls making all the creatures uncounterable.
Yeah, the Force doesn't have too many good targets at this point. And I just want to comment on something you said. So, like you said, this is, a decent position for Kenji, but at the same time, one scary top deck is all it is going to take to spin this game on a dime.
Hmm.
It kind of depends on what exactly this build looks like, but even one of the mid-rangey threats, like, say, Oblivion Sower or Endbringer, alone, those could be pretty bad.
Right. So here we see Brainstorm into a bevy of blue cantrips. Pondering now, and I think I saw a Diabolic Edict somewhere in the top 3, but we still don't really see lands here. And I'm wondering how critical they are to Kenji's strategy, because I mean, like, Kenji could theoretically do nothing for a couple turns, like amass a bunch of resources in his hand. But the problem with that is that Teruya has a lot of like non-interactive elements in his deck. For example, the Ulamog trigger, and that could be really dangerous if it gets to do that with if you can just like stall until that point.
Yeah, so this Thorn isn't necessarily what Teruya really wants to be doing, but it's going to keep Kenji off of doing things like, say, just like resolving a Jace going into Fate Seal mode and taking over the game very quickly.
Right, okay.
This Thought-Knot Seer is a great follow-up if Kenji can't immediately answer it.
Yeah, so I mean, if there is a Diabolic Edict on somewhere like floating on the top of Kenji's deck, maybe it's okay. But it's kind of tricky too, because I mean, this Thorn at least turns off like Snapcaster Mage for the next turn. Could something happen to that Edict?
Yeah, so this Brainstorm might be trying to hide some valuable card that was in hand. Yeah, and we see sort of a mediocre assortment of cards here.
Right, is that like an Inquisition and like a Hymn to Torok?
Yep.
Those cards pretty much do nothing now that Teruya is basically top. He is just top decking.
Yeah, so if we presume that the top card of Kenji's library is something that will go and answer the Thought-Knot, he's kind of getting a redraw out of one of these cards that was a blank.
So yeah, I will actually be trying to tag out in between the match for Jack to join us in the chat. But it looks like before then, we're going to finish this. The Edict is going to take care of the Thought-Knot Seer. Did you see if Kenji fetched beforehand or not?
I don't see a fetch land in the graveyard there, no. We've got the Brainstorm followed by the Diabolic Edict, and now we see a Wasteland taking off the Volcanic Island.
All right. So yeah, I mean, the Snapcaster Mage looks a little bit embarrassing in the face of the Thorn of the Amethyst, but I mean...
This game is going long.
Yeah.
We'll get to the point where that card is live.
Okay, that's good.
Live for something that matters.
Right. But also, like we said earlier, the game going long is kind of frightening because who knows, Ulamog might be around the corner, or even then, a Reality Smasher off the top.
Yeah, this is a quick clock, right? 5 a turn is nothing to sneeze at.
Yeah, the disruption from Thorn of Amethyst and in combination with the Wasteland is actually doing a lot of work here now. Man, Kenji didn't find another land, so...
Kenji's at 12, going to 7 here. Two turns left, and if this Ancient Tomb is being tapped, something big and scary is coming.
Right. 1, 2...
All right.
Oh, gosh.
7.
Uh-oh.
And this is insulation from an Edict as well.
Right.
Which is more problematic than the 7/7 body in many ways.
That's actually kind of crazy now that I think about it, because normally Reality Smasher is like not used as like a chump change fodder, and here it's just like somehow worse.
Okay. So here's an Edict.
Mm-hmm.
I imagine that the Endless one is sacked because Reality Smasher has Trample and can push some damage through the Snapcaster Mage. You don't want to give the free chump block here.
Okay, yeah. Who knows what could be around the corner or anything like that. And also, if you draw like another Smasher or something like that, being able to trample through actually does make things lethal.
Yep. So Kenji opting not to block for just one more point of life saved. And geez, the Endless one off the top, another great top deck.
That was pretty powerful.
Things are getting hard.
That was pretty powerful.
Yeah, I was going to say, like, I don't know what sequence of cards is going to beat both of those on board now.
Okay. So while you go ahead and discuss the sideboarding, I'm going to see if I can add um, JJKBB the call.
All right, sounds good. Okay. So Kenji is probably going to be looking for some number of cards that can interact with the artifact-based permanents. So if there's any additional copies of things like Culligan's Command in the board, those would be absolutely wonderful to bring in. We may see some of the air being cut from the deck in order to find more answers to large creatures as well. It's not unusual to see some additional removal spells in the sideboard of these Grixis control decks, even though they are relatively heavy on removal in the first place. So Jack, is that you? Are you live now?
Hey, what's up? Yeah, can you hear me?
Yes.
Great. Hey, Phil.
All right, great to have you in.
Okay.
So I looked away for a second, but I believe that was all four of the Chalice of the Voids being placed into the sideboard for our Eldrazi player here.
Yeah.
It looks like we have Sorceress Spyglass coming in instead. You know, Jace the Mind Sculptor is a hell of a drug, and just stopping that really increases the power of a lot of the Eldrazi. You don't want to pay 6 mana into something like an Endbringer and then just have that bounced.
Right. Okay, so we're seeing, all right, it's going through. Nothing else being removed. Yeah, keeping in the thorns. I might be a bit behind you, Phil.
Okay, are you watching on the MTG JP stream?
No, here, let me get on that.
Yeah, that's what you should get over. That's probably why we're seeing the difference between us. So we can see Kenji pulling out, I think that was Inquisition of Kozilek. Again, you want more general cards like Thoughtseize here, because you want to be able to take the giant fatties from hand. While Inquisition can take some of the early game disruption, it can't go and take some of the cards that really matter in the matchup.
There we go.
All right, so are you all caught up now?
No, still on the ad right now.
Okay.
This is quality commentary right here.
It's okay. The longer you do this like
ears.
Streaming and commentary thing, the more you get used to some little things going wrong, and you just take a deep breath and you roll with it.
Thanks, Phil.
I'm a teacher that's my job by day when I'm not doing all this fun Magic stuff, and then sometimes you show up and it's like, hey, there's assembly this block. It's like, okay, well, this is fine. It has to be fine. There's no other choice.
How much D&T do you think is going to be at this GP?
I don't think D&T is one of the best decks in the format. I think it's in a position where it will probably improve again soon. I think with like depths on the rise, it's just that's like an awesome matchup for D&T. But right now there's a relative scarcity of Delver, which is one of the things that D&T just is on. And there's a lot of Grixis control and Miracles, which can be difficult matchups. So I've been playing sort of a warped deck list in order to deal with that. Let's take a look at these openings here. So we've got a handful of lands, including Wasteland, Horn of Amethyst, a second Wasteland here.
All right, so you got turn 1 Thorn.
Yeah, this is great. It's going to throw Kenji off curve and sort of allow Taruya to have a little bit more time to play all of his big baddies and play the game that he wants to play.
Right. So I mean, I guess you think Chalice should come out in this matchup. I think it's interesting. At least it slows down and stops the cantrips, but I don't know. I would assume Chalice would stay in and at least have some consideration for staying in for this type of matchup. But I mean, obviously there's a more diversity in terms of the casting cost in Grixis, but I don't know. Could have utility. But yeah, Sorcerer's Spyglass, I don't know. Maybe you just don't have cards to keep in.
So I think Chalice of the Void is a fine but not amazing card versus Grixis control. As a D&T player, recently I've been playing Chalice of the Void against this deck just because like coupled with the other early disruption I have, especially if I get like a vial in play, it's just gross. But here, I think since their plan is to go so much more over the top, a lot of the 1-mana spells might not matter in the context of this game. Especially if Kenji's going to be trimming some 1-drops anyway out of fear of Chalice. You might get some of the benefits anyway just by, having it in your deck.
Right. Okay. Yeah. I would expect a Wasteland here. Just trying to, with a handful of lands.
Yeah, and Taruya, I believe, has another Wasteland in hand as well. So he really has the potential to make his opponent stumble on mana, especially coupled with his Thorn. The Baleful Strix.
Another Strix. Yeah.
Followed by the second one is like technically a clock, but it's only 2 a turn. So he can probably outrace this with ease at some point in this game.
Great. Oh, second Thorn. Jesus.
All right. Who needs to cast spells? Hopefully not Kenji.
Well, I mean, the only thing is the 2 Strix that makes it so awkward for him to have any creatures now, because he's got to essentially throw them away to the Strix. So I don't think it's too terrible for Kenji, but
there's some creatures like, say, Endbringer that can match up surprisingly well against Baleful Strix. Oh man, a Gurmag Angler here.
Clock.
This is just a plan of get him dead. The 2 Strix with Angler and Ancient Tomb on the other side of the battlefield may just like race before Taruya can do anything of note. Let's see which fatty this is though.
Okay, Oblivion Sower.
All right, it is Oblivion Sower.
1 land out of it. Okay. What the hell?
Oh,
from Exile. Right.
Yeah. Thank you, Gurmag Angler. Now, if we just get like an Urborg into play, we've got some business.
I know. Start casting Ulamog.
So notably, Oblivion Sower will block the Gurmag Angler on the ground. It is a 5/8, though if Kenji makes an attack in, that would telegraph a Lightning Bolt pretty heavily, or at least a bluff for Lightning Bolts. But we are not seeing that here. Just another pair of pecks from the Baleful Strix. All right, so how much?
This is him? Okay.
That is an expensive him.
Yeah.
Still can be quite good. We'll kind of see how it goes. All right, so we're losing a Thought-Knot Seer and a City of Traders here. So Taruya potentially has, what are you looking at? 2, 4, 6, 7, 8 mana in play. 9 or 10 with lands from hand. We have City of Traders, Wasteland, a colorless creature.
He does have the Endbringer in hand.
Oh, and Endbringer is absolutely stellar here.
Yeah, that's really gonna pull him back into the game.
All right.
Yep.
He has wasted his opponent off of double black here.
Right.
Now the Eldrazi Menace is starting to do its thing.
Yeah. Yeah. This is firmly in his opponent's favor, Kenji's opponent.
Yeah, so Kenji might need something like a land and an edict in order to take one of these off the battlefield. Because if he takes one off, then the Gurmag Angler can attack in this turn. But this is...
just like getting to... He has to take the Oblivion Sower off, right, to do anything.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So though Taruya's life total is currently low-ish, at 9, potentially at 7 after a double Baleful Strix attack. The Baleful Strix pair might not be able to attack this turn even, because there is the fear of Endbringer just going and mucking up combat quite a bit. Because Endbringer has a lot of text, stopping something from attacking or blocking, pinging, drawing a card. It is not what you want to see on the battlefield as a control player.
Well, I'm assuming, you're going to be losing both Strix, right? So I guess he's going to, at least if you can ping off the first Strix, I don't know. I guess you could leave one back if you want to save 5 damage. Yeah.
Yeah, so we might see something like ping.
Okay, wow. Jesus Christ. Kenji drew the whole threat half of his deck. Still, I mean, I don't think it's going to be
still
enough.
A game.
With,
I still think.
I mean, okay, all right. I just like the top deck answers now for his opponent. They're just so much stronger than what he has. I mean, I guess if you hit what Edict running, you might have something. Edicts and then I don't even know. Yeah, it'll be tough to get out of it.
I think it's time to play the control role, get this board stabilized a little bit, and just like put yourself into the position where a top deck, third creature will kind of lock things up.
Right.
He can afford to take another one in the air from a Baleful Strix and prevent a Gurmag Angler from attacking on his next turn if he so chooses.
Right.
So, like, even though there's a couple of
I assume he's going to pick off the Baleful Strix, right, with the untap.
Well, the thing is that if you just go and pick off the Baleful Strix, both of the Gurmag Anglers could attack in. And
right, but he doesn't have to. He can wait till combat goes right to start, so he could still block. I don't know. I guess I see your point. If you want to prevent the Gurmag from attacking,
yeah. So you have a 5/8 and
go to
a 5/5, and you don't really want to like trade your Endbringer here. So you don't want to give your opponent the opportunity to crash in with his Gurmags, I believe.
Right. Yeah. I mean, I guess because you'd be going to 2, and that would just.
You don't want to put yourself into range of just like being dead to a Lightning Bolt or Culligan's Command. So I think you're supposed. Oh.
Okay.
Well, now that we've moved kind of quickly there, it's just a clear play.
Yeah. Jeez. Okay.
So.
Yeah, he's got so many top
in great shape here. He's got the ability to go and just like essentially do a repeat of the last turn very easily. And we can also just get into the situation where the Endbringer starts drawing cards, and there's a number of borderline unbeatable draws at this point. Looking at the amount of mana he has, I think we're in the territory where he can just cast something like an Ulamog Ceaseless Hunger.
Right. I'm seeing a ton of posts online, actually. Have you noticed the same thing or no?
Yeah, I've been playing against like really quite a bit of Eldrazi of various natures. I think like Chalice of the Void, generally speaking, is a great card in the current metagame because like there's been a recent resurgence of combo as well as a decent amount of control, and Chalice is just a card that overlaps in both of those matchups or those sorts of matchups.
Yeah, I was just like thinking leading up to this GP, especially when I would play earlier in the morning, I would notice, I don't know, at least with the screen names that are associated usually with Japanese names, I'd see a lot of Eldrazi early in the morning as well as Miracles. But yeah, I don't know.
Yeah, I think Miracles is probably one of the clear decks to beat of the moment, and I think it's not close.
Yeah. I wonder, I would be interested in see how Yu Watanabe is doing. He's got how his record is, because I would assume he's on Miracles.
That's probably a safe bet.
Yeah.
So Kenji's taken a good hard look at the board here. Did not see what he drew. But it's a difficult spot. So if he's tapping out, that means it's a 2-mana spell.
All in. Okay. Oh, an edict. All right. This makes it awkward.
That was
I think Zach, the Reality Smasher, right? It's pretty.
Yeah, the Reality Smasher is the worst creature on board. I also think that was a very, very quick move to combat. We can't hear what the players are saying.
Right. So you block one of the Gurmags. I mean, I don't know. Like, I guess you're dead to top deck Lightning Bolt, but I mean, I don't know. I mean, I would consider the possibility of going to 2, but you disagree.
Oh, interesting.
Okay. Jeez. All right. So clear the board.
Yeah. So Teruya has taken a line that has allowed him to clear the board, and it has sort of turned him into the aggressor.
Right.
Which is probably a fine line to take. He has.
I think it's good. Yeah, it's a good line. Yeah.
I don't know that
And
I
he's
would have
still
taken
at
this
7.
line. I probably would have played something that was a little more conservative, but
Right.
since his opponent has been stuck on mana for multiple turns, it's very possible that there's some cards like, say, Kolaghan's Command, Jace the Mind Sculptor, that are stranded in hand that just aren't going to be doing anything. So this is probably fine. A very expensive Brainstorm to lead off the turn. Hitting a fetch land here is going to be very, very important. You know, if he's been locked for the last couple of turns and really, you know, unable to cast some of the more expensive spells, not hitting a fetch land here would be very catastrophic. Luckily, that does not happen.
Yeah.
All right.
All right.
It takes a draw.
Low.
Time to turn a creature
rolls
back.
himself. What did he draw? Oh, Mimic. Okay. Is that a Mimic? No, it can't be a Mimic. How is a Mimic?
It is a Mimic.
Okay, so, interesting. Impost. Is that common?
Our opponent is probably playing like a hybrid build. So there's sort of a spectrum of these Eldrazi decks where you have like maximum aggro with like as many creatures as possible. You have sort of a mid-range build that goes a little bit bigger, and you'll see things like Grim Monolith in the main deck alongside things like Ulamog the Ceaseless Hunger, and then you'll have some larger post decks. Ooh.
Right. So we've got Snap. I'm assuming we're going to get a Snap Edict, which unfortunately is now being kind of countered or negated by the Mimic.
Unless I missed something there, did Taruya just play an Eldrazi Temple, pick up a City of Traders, and then put it under some of his other lands?
I didn't see that. Catch that.
Saw? I may have misseen there.
Maybe he played 2 lands for the turn? I don't know.
So I thought I may be mistaken here. There's a lot to keep up with.
Yes,
yeah. Chad is confirming.
Do that. Yeah.
All right.
He didn't back the city. Ooh. Game loss.
Well, welcome to Magic coverage. Sometimes
typical Eldrazi move.
Although in complete honesty, it's not like mana is going to be a real issue this match.
No. I mean, it shouldn't make much of a difference, but trying to get as much advantage as he can, all the edges.
Yeah. Say la vie. So it goes. Kenji is at 5. 2 terrible tentacle monsters to play.
Snap, Edict, block. Jeez, God, he's drawing so many lands. Flooding out hard here.
Yeah, and some of them are even like utility lands, right? Like there's Cavern of Souls in hand that aren't.
If he could just get an Eye.
Yeah, Eye of Ugin is an absolutely terrifying card.
Yeah, that would end the game pretty quickly.
It is just like the worst sort of inevitability versus control because it's just so terribly difficult to deal with.
The most expensive Edict. All right, we're at 5.
All right.
See if he can top deck another Edict or Strix. Oh, Jace is can he yeah, he can cast it. Jeez.
Yeah, he can cast a Jace and bounce this. The Oblivion Sower.
The Oblivion Sower. This is going to be pretty awkward.
Some degree of value off the cast trigger, but again, it's not like mana matters too much here.
Right.
Taruya has that Cavern of Souls in hand, which is actually awesome here because it means that a future Force of Will, when Kenji has mana to pay for the Thorns, is not an issue.
Right. Oh, there's the Ulamog. He can only find the Urborg now. Oh, there's the Urborg. Jesus.
So he has so how much mana available? So 2, 3, 4, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12, 13. Yeah, we are already in Ulamog territory.
Yeah, he's comfortably casting Ulamog here. So you just hit Jace, and I assume like an Underground Sea. Oh, okay, never mind. All right. And then Urborg. Okay. Oh, I see.
He's looking at sort of his land situation to see,
Right.
can I cast this if I play Urborg instead?
Right.
And this allows him to play both of those. And this is currently uncounterable anyway, and Kenji's going to scoop it up.
And that's game. Well, that was a quick round 10.